Since the holidays are officially here, it's time to talk about the 2022 season that was. Not just the great moments, but the bad stuff too. So let's break down the top 10 stories of the 2022 NASCAR season today on Shifting Gears. I'm Alan Bailey, and before we get started, make sure you smash the subscribe button to stay up to date on the latest videos and log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. No, this is not going to be a top 10 finishes. No, this is not going to be my top 10 favorite moments. No, this isn't going to be the top 10 tragedies of 2022, but instead the top 10 stories or the headline-grabbing news. Some of this stuff is going to be obvious, but a lot of it really deserves a looking over once more to look back at what was the 2022 season. And the season is so long at this point, honestly, February feels like it was a lifetime ago. So let's actually dive into everything that happened in 2022, starting with number 10. Yes, it's a moment that just so happened to be in February 2022, and that's when Austin Cindric did something that no one at Penske had been able to do thus far. Rusty Wallace couldn't do it, Brad Keselowski couldn't do it, but somehow this rookie Austin Cindric could. He took the number 2 Penske Ford to victory lane in the Daytona 500. I know, you talk about those three drivers, I never would have thought he could have done it, but just for what was the second time in Daytona 500 history, did we see a rookie win the 500? And I know what you're thinking, this is the number 10? Well, yeah, it was honestly a very long time ago in comparison, and at the time it was a cool headline, and honestly it's something that we're going to remember for generations to come, but it's inevitably going to be a Jeopardy trivia question at some point, and yeah, Austin Cindric fans will remember it for decades to come, but honestly, what this rookie does in his career has yet to be seen. We'll have to wait and see how this moment stacks up in his career. Number 9 on the list goes to Zane Smith, finally getting a Truck Series championship. He'd come up oh so close the past few seasons, and finally he broke through and actually got it done. And yes, he is a deserving champion. Admittingly, this guy set the Truck Series on fire, and he was quietly having an extraordinarily consistent season, and that should be rewarded. Yes, the new playoff format doesn't really reward consistency, it rewards wins, and more specifically, if you have a really good championship race, but Zane Smith broke through that and ended up winning the race and the championship. Number 8 on the list, you would think that this one would be a little bit higher, but this one's low because of a number of other reasons. The COTA finish. I know, Ross Chastain was inevitably going to make this list, and he's probably going to show up again on this list. But Chastain's amazing win and move at COTA still reigns supreme to me. Yes, it's where the phrase Chastained got coined, and yes, it's where the Ross Chastain I don't give a tour kind of kicked off, but guess what? It was exciting, it was thrilling, and these guys were going for it. I hated that it ended with 2 wrecked race cars. I would have loved to see all 3 of these guys race to the finish line, but it was still pretty darn cool. And you have Trackhouse, which is owned by Justin Marks and Pitbull, getting their first wins as owners, and Trackhouse getting their first win as an organization. Plus, it kind of revitalized that whole program that inevitably led them into a Final Four spot. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. Number 7 on the list goes to Ty Gibbs winning the Xfinity title. No, it's not all the hate that Ty Gibbs got this year, and honestly, it's not even the fact that he won the 2022 Xfinity Series championship. So what happened a few hours later? Ty inevitably would lose his father, Coy Gibbs, who went to sleep and mysteriously and tragically never woke up. And for Ty Gibbs and their family to go from what should have been a career-defining high moment of Ty Gibbs' life to losing his father within a few hours is truly devastating. I know on social media on Sunday morning, a lot of people were poking fun that Gibbs maybe had a few too many to drink that night and was hungover from celebrating his championship, but inevitably it came out that Coy Gibbs lost his life at age 41. This is a story that we're going to hear a lot about in 2023, and with Ty Gibbs moving up into the Cup Series next season, I expect to hear this a lot in Daytona, a lot at the LA Clash, and a lot for pretty much all of next year until Ty Gibbs wins that first race in a Cup car, whenever that is. Number 6 on the list you would think would be a little bit higher, but it really wasn't that thrilling. Joey Logano winning his second NASCAR Cup Series championship in 2022. Nobody really picked Joey going into the championship race to be a favorite. Everybody thought it would be Chastain or Bell or even Elliott. A lot of fans were hoping for Elliott, but even Joey Logano fans were thinking, maybe not. But everybody overlooked the fact that Logano had won in Vegas a few weeks earlier and essentially had 2 weeks to prepare for this race, and they unloaded fast and never really let up. It was an extraordinarily boring race by championship standards, but nevertheless, Joey Logano is a deserving champion. I do think he is great for the sport, and I think that with Logano maturing with age, we're going to see Logano be a threat to win even more championships and even more races. Keep in mind, this guy will be a NASCAR Hall of Famer, mark my words. Number 5 on the list, this one has a lot of personal significance for me. NASCAR racing inside the LA Coliseum in February 2022. Honestly, phenomenal decision. Ben Kennedy kind of spearheaded this movement within NASCAR, and I didn't think this would ever happen in my lifetime, but I went to a NASCAR Cup race at the LA Coliseum. No, it wasn't a points race, but it really didn't matter because hands down, it was the coolest race I had ever been to in my life. I put up an entire 1 hour behind the scenes vlog of the entire thing that I'm probably going to re-edit and pre-post at some point, but honestly, I had a blast personally, and it did exactly what NASCAR intended it to do. People in the LA market, specifically the Los Angeles city limits, were talking about NASCAR. People who had never thought about NASCAR, never seen a NASCAR race, gravitated towards this race. Something close to 70% of the people who were in attendance at the Coliseum had never been to a race. Not just a NASCAR race, but a race period. And that is exactly what NASCAR needs to do to help grow. Bravo to NASCAR for putting on this event, and I cannot wait to go back in February of 2023. Hopefully it returns for years to come, but we will have to wait and see what happens after 2023. Number 4 on the list, Kyle Busch leaving Joe Gibbs Racing and Toyota for RCR and Chevrolet. This was a hot button topic all season long. It was something that developed and changed week to week, literally. And a lot of the rumors were getting very crazy. At one point, he was talking to Stewart Haas Racing to drive the 41 car next year. At another point, he was talking to Colleague Racing to drive the 16 car next year. And then inevitably, Kyle would sign with Chevrolet and with RCR to take over the 8 car in 2023. I know this is a story that will inevitably leak over into 2023 as well, but it really was a gigantic movement. And yeah, I did get a little sad seeing Kyle Busch get emotional after the Phoenix race in November, saying goodbye to the number 18 car, and the fact that Gibbs is going to be taking over the 54 instead of the 18 next year makes me think that we won't see that 18 car on track for at least a season or two. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Number 3 on the list was unfortunately a negative story. Kurt Busch forced into early retirement after a concussion at Pocono / next gen safety failures. Listen, this is a topic that everybody has discussed in length. It's something that we're going to continue to discuss during the offseason and into 2023. It's a big discussion. How do we make these new next-gen Cup cars safer for the drivers? It's no doubt about it, when they made changes to this car, it got a little more dangerous. It got a lot more dangerous. We saw Kurt Busch and Alex Bowman both sit out because of concussions. Not concussion-like symptoms like NASCAR wants us to say, but instead, concussions. They were concussed. Kurt Busch has a long recovery ahead of him still. Alex Bowman came back for the final race of 2022, but he took a hard hit, and from what I'm hearing, he's still recovering in some capacity, but should be ready for the 2023 season. And you even had Noah Gragson, who flat out said he's not driving these Cup cars as well as he could because he doesn't want to get hurt. There is a fear in the garage area heading into 2023 with these next-gen cars, and frankly, I'm terrified for these drivers. I hope NASCAR and the teams can figure this out really quick so that we don't see drivers get hurt next season. Number 2 on the list, Bubba Wallace getting suspended. I hate that this made the list, but it did. It moved the needle. Honestly, all those racist haters came out in full force, and I'm sure they're going to come after me in the comments of this video because, oh, Bubba deserved it. Bubba doesn't belong in NASCAR, and blah, racist, ignorant, durr. I do think that NASCAR needed to suspend Bubba for that one race. Frankly, I think it's extremely hypocritical that NASCAR suspended Bubba for a race while literally a few hours later they were using images and footage of that to promote the upcoming race in Vegas. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but I'll remind you that NASCAR got popular because of a fight at Daytona, and no one got suspended from that one. Number 1 on the list, you knew it. This wasn't even a question. The Hail Melon. Ross Chastain's move at Martinsville in late 2022 to spearhead himself into the Final Four. I mean, the guy just did something that no one had been able to do before. Yes, there had been bad attempts that never worked out in the past, but honestly, watching this footage again, I'm still dumbfounded that the guy was able to pull it off. You gotta admit, Ross Chastain had some cojones in order to pull this one off, and I am blown away that it worked, that NASCAR loved it, that the fans loved it, and the fact that it made SportsCenter highlight reels, and that so many people watched this. More people watched the video highlights of Ross Chastain's move at Martinsville than most of the entire 2022 season. Let that sink in for you. I really hope he's going to do it again, and I really hope the next time we go to Martinsville, we actually see somebody try it on the last lap, because honestly, if I'm not leading going into 3 on the white flag, why not? Go for it. Throw the Hail Melon. See what happens. But I want to hear from you. What do you think of my top 10 stories of the 2022 NASCAR season? You think I was off by a few? You think some should be readjusted? Let me know what your top 10 stories for the 2022 season are in the comments down below. It could end up on the show. You can also help support the channel for free by hitting the subscribe button, liking this video, and sharing it on your social media accounts. It truly means a lot, so thank you so much. You can also follow me on social media at HeyAlanBailey and log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Thank you so much for watching. For Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see ya at the track.